Hello and welcome to our new YouTube tutorial. In this video we're going to be creating a search bar with some nice animation effects. The project is going to be built based on HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Let's go ahead and describe the project. As you can see, we have here a search icon at the top right corner of the page. If I click it, then it will start to move and animate. It will move to the top of the page. So the input field will appear with the closing X button. If I click it, the input field will hide and the search icon will go back to its default place. Okay, so that's it about this project. It's going to be a little project, but I hope it will be interesting. I've created a new folder on the desktop called search bar, which right now is empty. Let's go ahead and open it in VS Code and create our working files for HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I'm going to call them index.html, style.css and script.js. Alright, let's open the index.html file and create a basic HTML document. For that I'm going to use an exclamation mark. So here we have a basic HTML tags. First of all, I'm going to change the title. Let's insert here, search bar. And then I'm going to link CSS and JavaScript files. Let's open link tag and specify here the path of the file. As for the JavaScript file, I'm going to open script tag right above the closing body tag. And then we need script.js in the source attribute. Actually, besides that, I'm going to bring in one more link for font awesome icons. Let's go ahead and search for font awesome CDN.js. Then let's copy the first link. Then we need to open link tag and paste the link in the hrefs attribute. Okay, so everything is ready. Lastly, I'm going to run the project to the browser using a live server. This VS Code package allows us to run the project live to the browser, and you can make changes and updates without refreshing the page each time. Before we start to write the code, I'm going to organize our working environments. Let's place the editor and the browser side by side. Alright, so finally we can start to write the code. First of all, I'm going to create HTML markup. Let's open div tag with the class search input wrapper. It will include search input field. So let's open another div tag with the class search input. I'm going to pass here two different elements. The first one is going to be the input with the type text and with the placeholder attribute with value search. As for the second element, it's going to be closing X button. I'm going to use here font awesome icon. Let's open I element and assign to it classes FAS, FA times. Alright, after that we need to create a search icon. So let's open div tag with the class search icon. And then let's insert here font awesome icon with the classes FAS, FA, search. Alright, that's it about the HTML markup. Now it's time to customize those elements and start to write some CSS. First of all, I'm going to create some default and reset styles. I'm going to select every element using an asterisk. First of all, I'm going to get rid of default margin and padding. Let's set both properties to 0. Then I'm going to set box sizing to border box. Throughout this project, I'm going to use rem as the measurement unit. Right now, 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels because by default, the font size of the HTML element is equal to 16 pixels. I want to convert 1 rem into 10 pixels, and for that, we have to decrease the font size of the HTML element and set it to 62.5%. Now, as you can see, all the elements became smaller. Alright, first of all, I'm going to customize the project like so. I mean, I will style and place the elements here at the top of the page, and then we will take care of the animations. So let's go ahead and select wrapper div elements and define its width and height. I'm going to set width to 100%. Then the height is going to be 5 rem, and also change the background color. I'm going to use here RGBA value to 55, 69, 69 and 0.5. Next, I'm going to place the elements in the center of the wrapper, and for that let's use flexbox. We need display flex. Then for the horizontal centering, I'm going to use justify content center. As for the vertical centering, we need align items center. Alright, so the elements are placed in the center perfectly. Let's move on and start to customize the search input. At first, I'm going to select its wrapper and define width. Let's make it 30 rem. After that, I'm going to select the input element itself. First of all, let's define its width, make it 27 rem. And also, I'm going to make the background color transparent. Next, I'm going to get rid of the default border and leave it at the bottom only. So we need border none. And then border bottom with values 0.1 rem, solid, and as the color I'm going to use 999. Alright, after that let's take care of the font size. I'm going to set it to 1.5 rem and also create some space between the letters. Let's set it to 0.15 rem. Also, I'm going to get rid of default outline. Let's set it to none. Then change the color. Use here 555. And finally, I'm going to create some space on the right side. Let's set margin right to 1 rem. Okay, so that's it regarding the input field. Let's go ahead and style the X button. Let's select it. First of all, I'm going to set font size to 1.5 rem. Then I'm going to change the color. Let's make it 999 and make the cursor pointer. Alright, before we move on and customize the search icon, I want to align both elements vertically in the center, and for that let's use flexbox. We need display flex and then align items center. Okay, let's move on and customize the search icon. Let's select its wrapper, div elements. At first, I'm going to define the font size. Let's make it 1.5 rem. And then I'm going to set position to absolute. So we're going to place the search icon in front of the input field. I'm going to define the top position as 1.7 rem. As for the right position, I'm going to make a little calculation. As you know, the width of the search input is 30 rem. So in order to place the search icon in front of the search input, we need to add half of the width of the search input to 50%. So I'm going to use one of the functions called calc, and then we need 50% plus 15 rem. So now, as you can see, the icon is placed in front of the search input, but I think we need some space between them. So instead of 15 rem, let's use 16 rem. Alright, finally, let's change the color of the icon. Let's select eye elements, set its color to 999, and also change the cursor, make it pointer. Alright, so everything is ready to create the animations. As you saw, by default we have to hide the input field and the X button, and also we have to move the search icon to the top right corner of the page. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to hide the search input wrapper. For that, let's use opacity with value 0 and also visibility hidden. Then change the right position of the search icon. Let's set right property to 3 rem. Okay, now it's time to create animation. Let's take a look at the finished project. So once I click the icon, it will start to move and also increase the size. We will have a couple of different steps during the animation. Let's go ahead and create CSS keyframes. I'm going to call it search icon anim. So from 0% to 40%, the element will change its top position and also the font size. So at 0%, we will have top position 1.7 rem. As for the 40%, we will have top position with the value 40% and also the font size with the value 25 rem. Then from 40% to 60%, the element will keep its top position, but we will change the right position. So at 60%, we will have again top with 40%. As for the right position, we will have the calculation 50% plus 16 rem. Finally, from 60% to 100%, the element will change its top position, but we will keep the right position. So at 100%, we will have top property with value 1.7 rem and the right position with the previous value. Okay, so the CSS keyframes are ready. Now we have to apply this animation to the element. For that, I'm going to use the animation property. We have to specify here the name of the keyframes and then the duration of the animation. It's going to be 1 second. So as you can see, the icon is moving and the animation works fine. We have here a tiny issue. Once the animation ends, then the icon goes back to its default position. We don't need that. We have to maintain the position that we have at the 100%. So in order to do that, we have to use one of the values called forwards. Okay, so now as you can see, everything works fine. Actually, we need to run this animation once we click the icon. So now it's time to start to write some JavaScript. We need to attach a click event listener to the search icon. So first of all, I'm going to select this icon. Let's create a new variable and call it search icon. I'm going to select this element using query selector method. Let's specify here class name search icon followed by the tag name I. Okay, after that I'm going to add an event listener to the search icon. We have to specify here the click event, and also we have to pass here a callback function which will be executed once we click the search icon. So as you know, we have to apply animation property to the search icon. In order to do that, I'm going to add a new class to the search icon, I mean to the parent element. Then we will select that element using newly created class in CSS, and we will apply animation property to the element. So we need here search icon. Then we have to get access to its parent element. So I'm going to use here property called parent element. Next we need another property called class list. It includes all the classes that the element has. And then I'm going to use method called add. We need to specify here the class, let's say change. Alright, that's it regarding JavaScript right now. Let's go back to the CSS file. So as I said, now we need to select search icon with the class change. And then we need to move this line of code here. So now if I click the search icon, then the animation will run. Okay, next we have to display the search input wrapper. Right now it is hidden. So in the same way, I'm going to use class change. First of all, let's select wrapper, create new variable and call it search input wrapper. I'm going to select this element using, again, query selector method. Let's specify here the class name search input wrapper. Then let's add class change to these elements. So we need search input wrapper dot class list dot add with the class change. Then go back to the CSS file and select wrapper with the class change. So in order to display the search input wrapper, we need opacity 1 and visibility visible. So now if I click the search icon, then the search input will appear. Right now it appears without any effect, so we need to use transition with the values all. Then the duration is going to be 0.5 seconds. And besides that, I'm going to use here little delay time, 1 second. Okay, so now as you can see, we have here much nicer and cool effect. Before we move on and start to program the X closing button, I want to add one more thing here. Once the search input is displayed, I want it to be focused automatically. For that, I'm going to use one of the methods called focus, but in this case, we need to wait 1 second in order to appear the elements. So at first, let's select the input element, create new variable, and call it search input. I'm going to select element again with query selector method. Let's specify here the class name search input followed by the tag name input. So I'm going to use a method called set timeout. It takes 2 parameters. The first one is a callback function. Let's insert here search input dot focus. As for the second argument, it's going to be the amount of time. In this case, as we said, we need 1 second, so I'm going to pass here 1000 milliseconds. So now if we display the search input, then it will be focused automatically. Okay, now we have to move on and make the X button work. Once we click it, we have to hide the search input wrapper, and also we have to move the search icon back to its default position. First of all, let's select X button. I'm going to create new variable. Let's call it close icon. And then select the element using query selector method. I'm going to specify here the class name search inputs followed by the tag name I. After that, we have to attach click event listener to the icon. Let's specify here the event type click, and also we need a callback function. So once we click the button, we have to remove class change from the search input wrapper and the search icon as well. So I'm going to grab those 2 lines, paste them here, and then change add into remove. So now if I click the X button, then the elements will hide and also the search icon will go back to its initial place. Actually, everything works fine, but we need to add some effects here. At first, I'm going to hide elements with some transition. So let's use transition with search input wrapper. Let's assign to it values all and 0.5 second. So now, as you can see, the elements are hiding smoothly. Next, I'm going to take care of the search icon. We're going to create a separate animation in which we will define the movement of the icon to the right side. So let's create new CSS keyframes. I'm going to call them search icon anim2. So we will have 2 different steps, 0% and 100%. At 0%, we need to define right position. and we have to insert here the calculation 50% plus 16 RAM. As for the 100%, we need to define right position as 3 RAM. Finally, let's apply this animation to the search icon. Use animation property with the value search icon anim2, then 0.5 seconds, and also we need forwards. Alright, so as you can see, everything works perfectly, and actually with this project we are done. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned some new stuff. If you like this tutorial, please thumbs up, comment below, share it, subscribe to our channel and click the bell to get notified on coming tutorials. Okay, see you next time.